true crime, murder, New England, corruption. We are looking into a case that's rocked New England in Boston. And there's always been for years allegations of corruption in that area, especially among the judiciary and the police. And I'm not from that area, but I do cover true crime. I do advocate for victims, whether they're victims of violence and their police or they're victims of wrongful incarceration. This case here is about the murder of John O'Keefe, police officer, allegedly by his girlfriend, Karen Reed. Now joining me, and the guy Turtle Boy, who exposed a lot of this and is really going after the players on the police side with accusations. So I have Ignacio Esteban here, my co-host, and let me introduce him and then say this. The opinions today are our own and reporting from media sources. This is going out as a news program, educational program, to bring my viewers up to speed on this controversial case. Right. And Ignacio, good morning.
Good morning, man. And some of the opinions I have. Yeah, I've been trying to catch up a little bit, and since it's been getting more and more traction, not only in New England, but around the country. And people are intrigued by this case here. The alleged killing happened in January of 2022. And a little background on this couple. They weren't married, but they were dating. And I'm not sure how long they were dating together, but they were seen at a local bar in the area drinking, right? And they had friends. He's a Boston, he was at the time, Boston Police Department, right. An officer. She was a girlfriend. They had other couples there. And allegedly went back to a house of another officer to have more drinks. Now, her version and what the facts kind of show are two different things. According to her, she did an interview on Dateline, and I saw that one. She says that that the officer that was inside that John O'Keefe wasn't really friendly with, and they had some issues. That's what her allegation is. And they went in there, and he didn't come out. That's what she says. She's texting and voicemailing him and all that, calling him, and he doesn't come out. So she gets frustrated and she leaves. And then comes back the next day, and allegedly his body is found outside, all bruised up and all that. But the other side of the story is part of her taillight is found at the scene, right, and hers is missing. And according to first responders, her answers was, I think I hit him. I might have hit him. I might have hit him. So if you hit anything, I think most people have common sense. They're going to come outside and check it out, right, to see what's going on. There was issues allegedly been reported that there was text messages and voicemails between them that had some hostility issues, right? It wasn't all the greatest relationship. So there could be some of that played inside. Possibly he never even went inside. And that's what a lot of people think, is that possibly it could have been a confrontation there. Maybe she was angry, could have hit him, and then taken off and left him there. And he died from those injuries and hypothermia. It was quite cold outside, obviously, in January in the greater Boston area.
Right.
So
in the city of Canton. Now, Turtle Boy is a blogger. He's got Turtle Boy News. And I give him a shout out and acknowledgement for his, trying to be victim advocate and all that. But as a former law clerk, I know there's certain lines you can't cross. You can't harass, intimidate witnesses, and they're accusing him of that. I'm not saying he's guilty of that. I absolutely admire this guy's tenacity. I think maybe what he does gets him a lot of views and supporters, which is great. We're all trying to build our channels, and I just think that sometimes you need to know the legal boundaries of what you can do. You can get excited and make your suspicious accusations and all that, I guess, but you should really. I've seen some of his shows. He's really over the top, and
sure,
there's a side of him you have to admire, because somebody needs to stand up, whether it's a regular victim or a police officer victim. As you see, I have a badge on there with the blue line because I do support the police. Ignacio is a former law enforcement officer.
Yeah, ETF, 26 years.
It doesn't do society any good if there's an innocent person about to go on trial. I believe her trial starts, did you say, in March?
Well, one thing I know is that prosecutors take pride in winning cases.
Yeah.
And they don't take a case with their investigators if they don't have a solid case. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of evidence there. It's not like, oh, you know what, 50-50, let's just go see what happens. It's something they have solid evidence, her statements, evidence found on the scene. Those are things, maybe there's more. Like I said, we don't know. We're not privy to the entire investigation, all the evidence, all that's been leaked out there. But that kind of leads to a motive. Possibly they were drinking, right? Anger issues between them, right? Obviously, her car does hit him because tail light pieces are at the scene. It is damaged. She doesn't stop. It's pretty much a hit and run, and she takes off, right?
Right.
So those are all things that are playing out there.
Dive into that issue about that tail light. She wasn't responding for, I think, 49 texts. Yeah. In frustration, she jumped back in her vehicle to go look for him, according to her.
According to her story.
When she backed out fast in the snow, you can see her clipping his parked vehicle with that exact same taillight.
Yeah.
And so then when she pulls off, you can see there's supposed to be 2 red taillights. On the other end of the camera, you see the other one a little like white instead. Right. The one that just clipped his car. So the allegation is, now I don't know if it's true, but usually when there's smoke, this fire, and something you would look at because you're an honest guy. These were all friends in law enforcement that were drinking and had certain animosity. So the accusation is, I saw some of the defense argument is that the officers who sat on the evidence and his clothing for so long, in fact, there's photographs of it on the floor next to his dead body in the hospital. And then they didn't even bother putting it into evidence for several weeks, allegedly. And then when they did, mysteriously, there was some glass from the back sprinkled in there. Now, don't you think an FBI lab, considering the state police were involved, the local police, it should have been turned over possibly for an outside investigation due to conflict, and they could have determined if there was contact made between his. Now, maybe she didn't hear it if she hit him because it's snowy, and your tires under snow make a lot of crunching sound. Your tires make a lot of crunching.
That'll be her defense.
They said she was a little bit drunk. I think she wasn't tested, but they estimated by her own admissions, by what she drank, that she was beyond the legal limit. So in anger, she pulls out fast, aggravated. Maybe she hit him, didn't mean to, but there sure is evidence that points to she literally is on after this whole thing, and she's going back to check on him, pulling out and clipping that car right at that light, and then she pulls out, and that glass is there, and the light's broken. That's the one thing. Then there was some forensic guy came in, looked at the case. He said, "There's no way this happened from a car accident." Another outside autopsy. I forget the name of the guy, the coroner, but some world-renowned guy. He said, "There's no way. In fact, his injury is more appropriate to being beaten and being attacked by a dog."
That's what she thinks. Yeah, that's what her theory is, that it happened inside there, and then they're trying to set her up. That's a whole conspiracy, and the defense attorney comes up with that too. This a cover up by the those that were involved in bringing on her and not them, and so there's a lot of stuff there. I know Turtle Boy, didn't he reach out to some witnesses and some other stuff, and he got in trouble by the judge, and then now he has some charges he's looking at. So
there's a gigantic law firm in New York, a nonprofit that because of the notoriety, I'm sure, picked up his case immediately. The judge let him out. OR. He immediately got on the air again and said he's coming after the prosecutor now because he said, for no other reason other than you tried to take me from my wife and kids. So it's gloves off, game on. I'm coming for you now. And so, the way he words things can be deemed a little bit over the top or threatening,
Yeah, and then that doesn't sit well with a judge or a prosecutor, especially talking to the media, and he's reaching out to witnesses and stuff. Even the defense attorney, I think they're trying to put a gag order on him because he's saying a lot of things that is out of bounds, and so they're trying to put a gag order also on them.
Isn't that the attorney that represented? I think it was Kevin Spacey or somebody. He represented. He was a high level attorney, the family. But again, I'm thinking even if she did spontaneous admissions right at the time of arrest or an incident, as you know, in law enforcement, I was a law clerk in prison.
Yeah, it's admissible.
Those are very damning, and they were first responders, not necessarily to the people in that place, in that house, which are all his friends and maybe enemies. But she clarified that in a recent interview and said, if you listen closely, I said, "Do you think I hit him? Did I hit him?" Like she was kind of questioning herself. I don't think they're really directly admission statements, but
we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be an interesting trial. I think the region for sure, maybe now even the country, because it's getting Dateline has it, NBC News had. I mean, the whole country. I mean, CNN. Everybody's looking at it. The Karen retrial. I think they call it the tail light murder case. So
and
everybody's
we have
looking at
much
it.
Respect and prayers and condolences for the
officer,
fallen officer John Reed's family and loved ones, and we're sorry about the
situation.
Loss. And if she is indeed guilty, it's a shame you're going through this. However, look at it from this side. if she's not guilty, somebody murdered a police officer or even just another human being, and it's free. If what she's saying is true, we were fighting, yes, but it doesn't amount to murder.
You can have domestic issues. You don't kill each other, but
right.
there's a lot of stuff that's
It'd be a
leading
shame if
down
you were
that
having
path.
a domestic issue and then you left the house to go to the store, and 5 minutes later somebody broke in and killed somebody, and you get the blame for it because you were fighting. So it's been cases like that. Wasn't the fugitive story based upon that? The doctor who was just coming back from a thing, an event, and his wife was murdered and whatever, and he got blamed for it, went to prison based on a true story. And then
it's been with Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah, it was a very similar
Yeah,
situation.
that's a long time. That was back in like the early '90s. I remember that. That was a good one. That was a good one. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Fictional account, Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne in that account, he was
a
banker.
Who was the marshal chasing him? You remember who was the marshal chasing him? He's a famous actor, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now.
Oh man, I remember he had some good scenes with the train coming out. He had to jump out over and everything else. Yeah, that's
they definitely dramatized it for Hollywood, but that's the premise of the story. And I've been in prison. You see with these innocence projects, there are a lot of innocent people because it appears, and you want to believe law enforcement's doing the right thing, and in most cases they are. They're acting in good faith, but people are lying to them, and things just look like somebody did it.
Yeah,
I think it's very rarely where you're going to see a case of abject, outright corruption putting the wrong person in, but they do exist.
It happens. It does happen. It does happen. Not just in this country, but around the world.
There was a prosecutor in New Orleans.
Look at China and look at Russia.
What's that?
Look at China and Russia. They put anyone they want in jail because they can. They're absolutely corrupt.
There was a prosecutor, I think it was in New Orleans, who for years had knowingly put innocent people in prison. And he's now like an old man, and he's come forward and admitted to this. He's very public about it. He gets in tears. He says, "Man, I can't believe I was part of this. I knew better when I was doing it."
I couldn't imagine that. I've 26 years in law enforcement, and never would that cross my mind. But has it happened? People setting each other up, stealing from each other? Yeah, unfortunately, it does happen. But those are worse than criminals.
Yeah, then what do? You have to do something. So
those are worse than the criminals.
That's what I tell people when I was in the law library. I said, you can say that the police did to you or that you're innocent or this or that, but their response is always going to be, we used the evidence at hand. We were acting in good faith. We didn't know that these three people were lying to us, and some start to recant over the years or whatever. So a lot of times the recantation is not even enough. It's too late. It's not enough to overturn a conviction.
Yeah, it's sad because this is a young couple, right? And things just got out of control. And ended up the life of a police officer out of Boston. All accounts, he was a good officer. And sometimes that's what I'm saying. Alcohol, drinking, cars, relationships, all that's a bad combination. A lot of people probably wish you had an Uber driver that night, right? Maybe that would have been a lot safer than when you mix in the driving and everything else that's going on in there. And then you have another party. I don't know. I think at the end, we'll see what theory goes out. Her theory is that he never came out inside the house. Other people's theory is that he never got in the house because they were fighting. And at the end, he might have slipped, and maybe she did run him over and left him there for dead.
I think one of the things is there was animosity between him and somebody in the house or the owner.
Allegedly.
But he was invited, and that one of her texts, I think it was, or comments was, well, I wasn't invited, so I wasn't going in, and we were arguing, whatever. And so she may have pulled out fast and clipped him, or maybe he went in there really pissed off at her, and then stuff started inside and got taken outside, and it was cops. So what are they going to do? Well, we can't just go bury this guy. Maybe we'll just do this.
I know one thing. Court TV is all over this, and it's going to be fascinating to watch this one. I believe the cameras will be in there.
Yep, and I extend an invitation to all the parties to this case, both sides. You're more than welcome to come on here. I will give my opinion on this case. Right now, I'm undecided if she's guilty or innocent. I know that to put the wrong person in prison is never the right thing to do. And like Martin Luther King said, an injustice anywhere is an injustice anywhere. And the other thing is, if you have information on this case, go forward to the police or the FBI, especially at this point, because it probably should have never been investigated by the agencies that had it because of conflict. Yeah. That being said, I would maybe report it to the FBI, or if you want to come on the show anonymously, we can put you on an anonymous as an anonymous guest. Turtle Boy, you're more than welcome to come on the show. And I'm just learning the ropes of this. I have a reality show on A&E Network with millions and millions of fans. It's got 12 million almost views on
Excellent.
TikTok. So
Excellent.
my audience is growing, and I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to do what you're doing, but I also know there are guidelines that we have to follow as how we approach these cases.
Yeah,
And how
and
we
imagine with a gag order out there, a lot of these witnesses are not going to be talking anymore. I think the judge is trying to put an end to all of that. They're not very happy, people going in the media. And it's hard to get a neutral, non-biased jury when everybody's being fed all this misinformation. So have you heard about this case? So you go to the jury pool. I've done that countless of times. And you're familiar with it. And what's your opinion? And everybody has a bias. You need an unbiased jury pool.
Right.
So it's going to be harder and harder to find that when people keep on talking about the case.
I saw when they locked up the Turtle Boy, the perp walk, right? Of course, only the police know when they're going to get him, right? So the police and the prosecutors, because he was so vocal about this case, they all knew he was about to be arrested. So they were there in the crowd with some people with cell phones, whatever. So it was a negative crowd to him going in. And there was even a police woman, I believe she was, that was like cursing him out, calling him all kinds of names.
Oh, boy.
Caught on camera. And he put her picture all over the internet. I want somebody to identify her. I don't even know this woman. I'm trying to do the right thing in here. And she's calling me names and blah, blah, blah.
He'll have his day in court.
My family's worried about me, So he goes and does that. And then a few hours later, when he gets out, he said, that crowd was big because my people didn't know I was about to get arrested. The crowd, when he got out, was enormous, like giving him a round of applause.
I heard that. Yeah, I tell he'll have his day in court also, and he'll have to justify his actions. Yep. And these charges are no joke. So he gets convicted of that.
Please,
sometimes the irony is it's not the charge itself, but the obstruction or the interference that could hurt you more. Look at Nixon, right?
Yeah,
the obstruction ends up getting you more. So
we're putting this one out quick. I ask everybody, please leave a comment one way or the other.
Sure.
Keep them respectful. We're doing this as a public service, news gathering, and journalism advocacy, because even though Ignacio was in law enforcement, but he's one of these guys that does not want to see an innocent person get locked up and a police officer killer go free, if that's the case here. So
I think everybody wants the truth. The truth is important, and I think it's fascinating, and everybody should keep an eye on this case. It's a fascinating case. It's playing out in front of the media in the New England area, and we'll see how it turns out. But March is a trial date for now. Obviously, those things changes. A lot of motions being filed. A lot of evidence trying to be suppressed either way. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I want to tell you this. Some of this matter was I discovered it and I was hearing about it, and then I started working with a guy who just asked for some help writing some basic, low end legal stuff, for looking over some of the material he had up, because I'll put his name because he gave me permission. Nicholas Fiorello. Nicholas Fiorello is from the same area. And he's alleged corruption in the same exact departments, same exact, these judges up north that are allegedly by Nicholas co-opted by very powerful influences. Now, Nicholas was building what they call a data center data corridor through New England. That was going to be the most important one in the planet. They bought land in several states for several $1 million. Once wind got out of what they were developing, it became worth upwards in the billions. Well, some of the early investors, according to Nicholas, somebody slipped in who had ties to organized crime, according to him, and allegedly ties to organized crime, or was organized crime up in I think he said Saratoga, and so these people were approached to just cash out and marginalize Nicholas Fiorello. And he claims that he was threatened with his life, that if he didn't take I think a 1% stake in his own company and let the other people cash out or would move out of the way, that there was going to be hell to pay. His life's been threatened. I literally heard one of the recordings where somebody connected to Whitey Bulger told him, literally, he said, mother effer, I'm sick of you talking to me about this, and I'm dying of a bone disease anyway. If I had my 45 and I saw you right now, I'd blow your effing head off right in my living room. I told you I'm sitting down with my kids. And he says, no, don't threaten me. We're friends. He goes, I'm effing serious, and I don't care if you're recording me. I don't care who hears this. I heard that recording. And this is
that's not good. That's not good at all.
Back in the day, alleged gangster guys. So he's got a ton of incriminating stuff about these same people, and he's aware of what's going on with Turtle Boy because he follows stuff in that region. I don't know concretely where he is. He's concerned for his safety. But so I want to just say that, our thoughts and our prayers going out to Nicholas Fiorello. If these allegations are even remotely true, we wish the best for your safety, and hope you have success, convincing people of your side of
We'll,
things.
we'll probably have a follow-up show with Turtle Boy and this case in March or maybe before that, because a lot more drama is going to be playing out, and there's a lot of things going on from different factors, different witnesses, and everything. And I think we're just scratching the surface here a little bit. People are getting really passionate about this case.
Yep, and I'm putting up like a 5-minute clip today, and I'll have this edited and put up a little better with you and I, just to introduce our audience to this case, because we will track it. The other one is the Idaho murder case. I'd like to get back on that and track that.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, for sure. And Boise,
Again,
Boise,
prayers
Idaho.
to the fallen officer's family.
Condolences for sure.
Condolences. And so that's it. We're going to wrap this up, and we're going to come out, let's get this out as soon as possible. Ignacio, thank you so much for joining, and we're going to see you again soon.
All right, Bill.
All right. Leave a comment, everybody. Remember that. Leave comments. And just keep them respectful and civil. And what are your opinions of the case? If you have information on the case, my email will be on the screen, officialwilliamsteele@iCloud. Send them there, but primarily law enforcement. If you're afraid of law enforcement for whatever reason, if you know about other issues that you believe are corrupt practices in New England or Canton or all these areas where this thing is playing out, or Nicholas Fiorello's case is playing out, let us know. We'll try to direct you in the right direction of what you need to do with that information, because we are not law enforcement. We're just people trying to tell an honest story from both sides of the fence.
Just
again, I don't have an opinion on this case yet. So
the one that's going to matter will be the jury at the end.
Right. There's Edmund Burke said, and it's in all my books, all that's needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Do nothing.
So I implore anybody who was there that night, if something went wrong, if there was a fight, this man died, he didn't mean it, just tell the truth. I mean, people deserve closure. To some degree, you can get it. I don't think on a murder case, but maybe it won't be that bad on you. If it was a fight or something that went bad and you didn't mean to kill the guy. You guys, if you did it, and I'm not accusing you, I would say come clean, because you're about to have an innocent person go to prison for a very long time, potentially.
Yeah.
So
sounds good, Bill.
That being said, thanks again, guys.